we're going to be talking about this past week and kind of what we've done with our students. So, Janine, do you want to start talking about your K through 2 kids?
All right, for kindergarten, for math, working on counting to 100 and one less.
Okay.
And then reading, I gave the Dibbles test, and then we're doing long vowels and rhyming.
All right, then first grade.
First grade, for math, I gave Noea,
Okay.
and then time, just the hour hand and the minute hand.
So just by the hour?
Hour, yeah.
Okay.
And then for reading, sequencing.
All right, second grade.
Second grade, Noea testing all week for everything. And then for math, double-digit addition with regrouping.
Okay.
And then for reading, main idea and details.
All right, third grade.
Third grade, for math, reviewing area and perimeter. And then reading, cause and effect.
All right, and then for me, for third grade, for math, I'm also reviewing area and perimeter, and then also I'm kind of just going back and touching on shapes and their attributes. I know I felt like perimeter was kind of like rushed there towards the tail end, so I just wanted to make sure that we kind of hit that again. Then third grade for reading, also cause and effect as well. I won't start Noea testing till next week, so I won't worry about that till next week. Then fourth grade for math, I decided I wanted to review long division and things around division because I feel like that was more towards the beginning / middle of the year, and I feel like we might circle back to it, you know, every now and then, but I feel like the whole like being quick and like good about the process, I feel like they've kind of dipped down and kind of struggle again. So just kind of making sure that we're refreshing on all of that before going on to fifth grade. Then fourth grade for reading, author's purpose and text features. I know a couple weeks ago when we did author's purpose, they actually did really well on it. I was kind of surprised how quickly they grasped on, so we won't have to spend too much time on that, but text features I feel like you can always touch on again and again and again. Then fifth grade for math, just kind of more on shapes, kind of like third grade, but just more on 2D and 3D shapes, kind of going over area of like the 2D shapes, the 3D shapes, and all that kind of stuff. Then for reading, text structure, which I feel like I taught text structure a lot in 5th grade, but I feel like it's still a hard concept for a lot of the 5th graders to grasp because it's just something that they have to be able to know, like, what to look for. And so if they don't really know all the different types of text structure well, then they're not going to be able to pick out of the text like what it actually is. So that is that. All right. All right. Joni, would you want to talk about your groups?
Actually, mine are similar to both of you here. I'm listening. Kindergarten, we're working on counting to 100, recognizing numbers, and one less.
Okay.
1st grade, we're working on 2-digit addition to 100.
Without regrouping?
Actually both.
Okay. Okay.
2nd grade, our goal is 3-digit addition with or without regrouping.
Okay.
3rd grade, 3-digit subtraction with or without regrouping.
All right.
4th grade, long division, 3-digit divided by 1 digit.
Okay. All right.
And 5th grade, 4 digits divided by 2 digits.
All right. Diane?
For kindergarten, I helped double the RTI students. And we also worked on reviewing sight words and letter sounds.
Okay.
1st grade, it's also, I helped RTI, or do doubles with the RTI students. And then reviewed previous skills on phonics first. And it's the same thing for 2nd grade.
Okay. All right, then 3rd grade.
3rd grade, it's main idea and details.
Okay.
4th grade is the prefixes re and un.
Okay.
And 5th grade is making inferences.
All right, Amelia.
Alright, so for kindergarten, like my 2 kindergartners are both working on different skills. So for one of them, we're working on like a quiet voice or a whisper voice instead of shouting out. And then for the other one, we're working on him using like basic verbal commands and using his words.
Okay.
And then 1st and 3rd are both working on different like self-control activities and different like skills they can use to help stay in control of like their words, their actions, their bodies.
Okay.
Then 2nd and 4th are both doing different activities on accepting no and like learning what they can do, or some like coping skills when they're told no, or like how to accept no, and like, just how to deal with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5th grade, we're actually doing like a novel study, and there's a book called Surviving Middle School, and so we're like preparing for middle school and talking about that.
Did they seem to like that book?
They actually do. I mean, the author makes it really like funny, and so it
Okay.
talks about like they use like space gnomes stealing garlic bread as like this whole thing about like bullies like trying to take away like your true like how you act, or I don't know. So it's a pretty funny book, so they both like it a lot.
That's awesome. how will we know if our students have learned the skills that we're trying to teach? So I feel like for us, I know we give for reading, we give our benchmark tests at the end of the week. So that's kind of more of a formal way to make sure that they've learned those skills. But daily, on the more informal side of things, just whether we're working on a group activity or a worksheet or whiteboard activities, whatever we're doing, it's, we can kind of gauge who's getting it, who's not really understanding. And kind of for math too, the same way. I know we both kind of try to do we do it together, we work through some together, and then when the kids are doing it on their own, if they're constantly needing to ask for help or if they need that prompting and guiding, then I kind of know okay, we have to spend some more time on this. So that's kind of how I gauge things. I'm sure you're all pretty similar. And then Amelia, how would you say, how do you know that how would you gauge on if your students are learning the skills that you're trying to teach?
So some of it is the same as what you're talking about, like the actual lessons in class. I can see that they know what they're learning by asking them questions, or if we do a little game, are they able to do that skill? Or if I practice for accepting no, I'll practice them telling them no and seeing how they respond. But then also part of it is observation and seeing reports from other teachers, how they're actually applying those skills and how they're doing with it outside of my classroom.
That's good. And do you think you get a lot of good feedback from teachers for the most part?
Yeah, I think so. I think they're pretty honest usually on how the students are doing, or if they're having trouble with certain things, or if they are improving.
Okay. Then what will we do for the students who haven't learned it, the skills that we're trying to teach? I know I kind of already touched on that just with, even this week kind of in general, I know at least we've both just kind of picked out those skills that throughout the year the kids have struggled with the most. For me, for fourth grade, it was division. It's I feel like that was a very hard skill. So just kind of making sure you kind of retouch back on those often. Or if you can, try to make it a little bit more simple. I know for division, even when I first started it, instead of a 3-digit number, I just started with a basic division fact so that they could just see how the setup all looked. But then kind of just getting a little bit more difficult just once you can tell they're starting to get it. Anybody else have anything to add for that, for those who have not learned it?
Sometimes I have to differentiate within my small group as well. So if
Yeah.
it's 4-digit, we go 3-digit for
Right.
all the students if they want.
Right, yeah. And then what can we do for those students who have learned the skills? Does anybody have anything that in particular that they like to do specifically?
You can definitely move them on to something else.
Well, yeah, there's either moving them on to the next skill in general, or if you can make that specific skill more difficult, so pushing it up to 4 digits or things like that. All right, so kind of last thing, looking into next week, is there anything that you need to do this week to kind of prepare yourself for next week? I know we're going to be starting NAWIA for grades 3 through 5 next week, so just kind of making sure that, I know now that it's getting closer to the end of the year, there's lots of fun activities going on and things like that, so just making sure that I'm testing the kids when they're not going to miss something, or miss out on a fun activity or things like that. So that's kind of what I'm going to be keeping in mind for next week, just getting the testing schedule figured out in my head so that we can kind of finish up with that. Anybody else?
The same thing, finishing the WIA and doubles.
Yeah, for me, it's kind of figuring out, since some of the students will come not in my room when they're testing, and some of them are not, and some test in here, and some test in their gen ed class, just kind of figuring out which students are going to be where at what times. Some kids kids that are testing in my room, then I wanna make sure that that's like a calmer environment,
Right.
cause you know like what's gonna be going on, so it's just
Right.
planning for that as much as possible.
Well, I think that'll be about it, and then we'll meet again next week.